Hey everybody, welcome to On Grade. This is episode 13. I got Brian Mingus on here tonight, and my co-host Devin Boudreau is in studio.
What's going on, guys?
Brian, introduce yourself for everybody.
Hi, Brian Mingus here. Been in construction now since I was 16, and excited to be on the show with you.
Well, appreciate you coming on, man. So Brian reached out to us on LinkedIn. He's working on a highway project just down the road from us, and so Brian, kind of tell us your story, man. Tell us your background and how you got into this thing.
So actually, I got lucky with doing this. I met my girlfriend at the time, now my wife now for it's been 17 years now we've been married, and her parents owned a construction company. They've been in business. They've actually had several businesses, one here in Texas, and then that one went out and they started up one in Arizona. And I got the chance to work for them as a laborer. I started with them as a laborer, running blue tops and booting up stakes out on the site development site. And from there, got to run some water trucks, some small equipment, what we call Gannon tractors in Arizona, and got to be on the more bigger machines. And unfortunately, in 2008, in the Great Recession, that company went out of business, and went to go work for kind of like a city improvement company called Aiken Gardner. Worked for them for a little while and ended up having to move here to Texas, and it's been kind of history ever since.
That's awesome, man. So you're thinking about going out on your own. You kind of explained that to me in the thing. So what's got you driving the entrepreneurial spirit to want to do that?
I've had, I'm not proud to say it, but I've worked for a decent amount of companies since I've been here to Texas. When I lived in Arizona, I only worked for two contractors, and since I've been here in Texas, I don't have enough fingers to count how many companies I worked for in different cities and in Texas, and seen a lot of good things, and I've seen a lot of bad things. And a lot of the good things is part of what I want to start off with the company, is having a company where people really enjoy working there. That's really the biggest avenue that I'm kind of working towards, and just having a group of people around me that everybody loves what they're doing. And that's a huge part for me.
You looking to get in the dirt side of things or the project management side of it? What are your thoughts?
Strictly dirt.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of, pretty much from the start of my career, it's been finish work, and that's kind of what my forte is, and I like to kind of stay in that.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. The biggest thing I can pass along, and Devin too, be probably able to pass this along as well, is stay humble. When you start getting guys, man, don't forget where you came from. That's what I think a lot of guys forget when they get bigger. They worry so much about how they look and the perception, and oh my God, I don't have enough stickers on my tractors. All that. Just move dirt, man, and take care of your guys, dude, and do good work and work for the right people. That's the key. And you're already knowing that. We were talking about it before we started recording. It's a very humbling experience being a business owner, I'll tell you that. And there's going to be you're going to have some awesome days, and you're going to have some terrible days. Yeah. Being a superintendent, project manager, you know that, but multiply it by 10, because that's your money now you're dealing with. It's not, it could not be a publicly traded company's money or just a massive company that you're working for, that it's their money. They'll write that off. This could be the difference between you making payroll next week or going bankrupt. So, it's a humbling experience. So, Devin, you got anything you want to add to that?
Well, the biggest thing with it is you start out in business, the first big problem you get is going to seem insurmountable, just this crazy thing, and you're going to look at it and like, how do I deal with this? What am I going to do? Rack your brain. You're going to drive yourself nuts. You'll find a solution to it. You'll move past that one. A couple months down the road, you'll have another one. That one's going to seem the same thing. And eventually you're going to get to a point where you realize that these problems don't stop coming. It's just what it is. That's business. And eventually they just become normal. So these massive problems that seemed crazy in the beginning, that you never thought you'd be able to solve or figure out a way around or sort out, you're going to figure out how to get around the first 1, 2, 3, 4. By the time you get to the 7th, 8th, 10th problem, it's just normal at that point, and it's a weekly occurrence. And all right, cool. You almost become numb to it, and not in the sense that you you don't think of them, you don't look at them, whatever, but it just becomes a lot easier to deal with. Not because the problem's smaller or the problem's easier to handle. You just get used to fielding those problems. A lot of it comes around with money, billing, payments, that kind of stuff. That's usually where you're going to hit your biggest hiccups, because the dirt side of things and moving dirt, like, you've seen all those problems. Those are all things that you've dealt with already at this point. Those are whatever, fix it, big deal. It's when it comes to getting paid or meeting payroll or, meeting your deadlines. Those are things that are going to be problems that are going to be probably different and new to you to deal with. And once you get through a few of them, you keep going and you just keep moving through them, and they get easier and easier, not because the problem's smaller, just because you get more used to it. It's like anything, right? Learn to ride a bike, learn to swim, whatever. When you start out, it's insurmountable. Once you get going into it, it's not that big of a deal. You just get used to it and keep moving.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and I think you're going to kick ass, man. And, you've been doing this a long time. You know the game. And you reached out to us and said, hey, I want to learn how to bid jobs. And it was humbling to hear you ask me that when I checked out your resume. I'm like, this guy already knows how to estimate. Why does he want to learn how to estimate? But, when you and me were talking offline before the show, there was things we were talking about that you were like going, oh, okay, yeah. And what I would say is when you're getting started on your own, the biggest thing you got to do is land your first job.
That's actually on my wall up in my bedroom right now. It's that one right there.
Yeah. So what you got to do is find you a great rental company to start with. Go around town. This is for the viewers as well, everybody, but we're doing this with Brian to help him get started. So hopefully you guys can take notes and listen to what we're saying. Find a great rental company. Find a great fleet company to get you your fuel. Get one of them on-site tank rentals. There's great companies all around the country that do it. Try to find somebody that does net 30 terms, though. There's going to be a lot of these fuel companies that are going to want you to pay in 10 days or 15 days. Try to do a net 30. Get multiple accounts with trucking companies. Don't just get one, because what'll happen is they might make you a good deal on one job, and they know you've only got an account with them, and they're going to just sucker you in. And then next thing you know, you're not being able to shop your pricing. Get a really good saw man. Don't go with one of these big saw companies. Get you a good saw guy. I got a guy, he's a one-man operation. He's been doing my sawing for 5 years, and he's awesome. And we work with each other. He's put up with the times that I had to pay him slow, and he's happy as crap when I can pay him a little ahead of time. So, find somebody like that. The other thing too is you want to think about if you can get a fleet deal where they come out and they'll wet hose you, get it where they blow out your filters, they grease for you, they do all that stuff. Renting, the key with that is you're going to have the maintenance done on your equipment. So if you have any issues with the machine going down when you're first starting up, you got it all on a rent. So they're going to have to come out and fix it. Make sure you get good insurance. When you're running a smaller company, usually your insurance premiums aren't too bad. You should be able to get general liability, a little bit of umbrella. Most of the GCs now, though, are requiring, I'm seeing it a lot now. I don't know if you have yet, but I'm starting to see they're wanting $2 million GL, which I've had that for a while now, but they're wanting a minimum of $2 million on some really small jobs I've been doing. And then they're wanting some umbrella. Great companies to look at is there's insurance companies all around the town that do really good insurance for contractors. I got sucked into the whole going on Google and going, I need construction insurance. And I've got some company out of California, and I was paying an arm and a leg. And I got the guy here local, and he's got me with way better insurance companies, and I'm paying way less. You're not going to be, if you're doing dirt work strictly, you're probably not going to need to pull bonds much. But what I would do if I was you, once you get going, about a year into it, start looking into how to get it bonding going. Now, the reason I'm talking about all this is that's so you start knowing how much everything costs.
There you go.
So when you get all this data put together, get a proposal from the fuel company. This is how much we'll charge you a gallon to wet hose you. This is how much we'll charge per gallon when we put it on a tank. This is our terms. Get a rental sheet from your rental rep. Go, okay, how much is it to mobilize the equipment out here? If you want to use your own trucking guy, you call him up, say, hey, man, how much is it to get your worst case scenario? cost from, say, hey, I need to move a tractor from Weatherford to Dallas. How much is that going to
Yeah,
be?
don't just get the rental rate sheet. Get a rental quote on each piece, because there's going to be taxes and other stuff added on. So the rate sheet's going to show you the base rate, but when you get the actual rental quote, you're going to have taxes and trucking and all this stuff associated with that piece that might add, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month to that cost. So if you just go off the rate sheet and you go to build your prices off of that, you're going to miss all those things that are on the actual quote. So you want an actual, if you got 5 pieces you think you're going to use, get a quote for each one of those pieces, like a complete quote. And then you'll get the full cost of having that machine for a month or a week or whatever you're going to rent off.
Really knowing what that hourly rate is.
Yeah, because if it's a $7,000-$8,000 piece for a month, but you miss $1,500 of cost, that's a big percentage when you're looking at it.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode, but I'd like to take a minute of your time to talk to you about today's sponsor. Are you a GIS professional, land surveyor, or construction professional looking for the best in surveying equipment, software, and service? Look no further than AGS Inc. AGS Inc. is an authorized dealer for TopCon and Sokia surveying equipment dealer and EOS aerial mapping products dealer, with a supply store in Grapevine, Texas to serve the DFW Metroplex, Central Texas presence, and a corporate headquarters in Houston, Texas. AGS has you covered. Stop by and experience the AGS Inc. difference today. At AGS, it is a service after the sale that counts. AGS is the proud sponsor of the On Grade podcast. On Grade podcast listeners, give these guys a call if you want to talk about bringing precision surveying, layout, drones, GPS, GIS, or 3D scanning spatial technologies to your company. Thank you, and have a great evening. Back to the episode. Brian, after this, I'm going to get your email, dude. I'm going to send you something that you're going to love me for.
All right. Appreciate it.
Devin knows what I'm talking about. I got this little Houdini thing I got that helps me calculate my hourly rate. I wish I'd had it 5 years ago when I started, because I was spitballing back then. I was like, oh, that seems about right. Yeah, I was wrong. So you got to remember utilization rate, too. That's the other thing you got to think about when you're building your hourly rate. You're never going to get 100%. So you want to be roughly about 80.
Yeah, I was figuring 79%.
Yeah, 79 to 85 tops. 85, that's like highway work. You're working 2 12-hour shifts. You know what I'm talking about back in the day. You're never getting above 85. So I would tops go 80. Maybe, like you said, 79%. Calculate your 79% utilization rate. That's going to get you an hourly rate. When you start bidding a job, guys, I know we're talking in Swahili because it's a little advanced stuff, but what you need to do is, what we're basically saying is, you're taking the piece of equipment you're using, the operator that's in that machine, what he costs an hour. You're including tax, payroll tax, workers' compensation, fuel, overhead, EOE, equipment maintenance, greasing this thing, putting fuel in it every day, and overhead to cover your costs and your foreman's and your truck and all this other stuff. This is what's calculated in that hourly rate. So once you lock down your hourly rates, then you got to figure out how much production can I do a day. So depending on what line item you're doing. So if you're stripping a job site, so you're just going out stripping the grass off the job site, with this size bulldozer, you can do it in roughly 4 hours. So, okay, I'm doing an acre site. I can do, with a D6, I can strip that site in 4 hours. Okay, so you take your square footage of that lot, you divide that by most people, when they strip a site, they strip for 2 inches. I don't know how you calculate, but I'd strip for 2 inches. So I'm stripping 2 inches of the topsoil off the job site. That's all I'm doing. So I have way less organic material that I have to deal with later on. So I strip my job site 2 inches. Once I strip my job site, I calculate, okay, I know these 2 machines running together, I can do 800 yards a day, 1,000 yards a day, whatever that amount is. Okay, I'm going to plug that amount in. So that's going to give me my roughly what per price per cubic yard it's going to cost to strip that site.
Per unit, yeah.
Yep. Then you're going to calculate your next thing. So if you have to do, the other thing I forgot to mention to you, getting off track for just a second before we get back to this, really good erosion control company. All the GCs now want you to do your own erosion control. So make sure you find a really good erosion guy. There's tons of them around town, but I've got great recommendations. We'll talk offline about that. And we'll get you lined up.
Appreciate
So there's some really, that's the other thing, guys, though, for everybody around the country, though. Make sure you find a really good silt fence guy. They're out there, man. Get a guy that's really reputable. And especially these bigger guys, they're going to want to help you. They're like, oh, man, a new client, this guy's getting started up. And they might be able to give you some advice on who to work for and not work for. If you go, hey, I'm going to get a job with this guy, they might go, a couple of my other clients work for him. Maybe watch out, So that's biggest thing with that is that. But when you're starting to estimate, the biggest things you need to know is you need to know what stuff costs. You need to know your quantities. That's the biggest thing. You can do it old school if you need to. Go to your local Kinko's, go to your local UPS store. They all have plotters. You can print off. Make sure though that they're to scale. You can scale it out. You can do the 5x5 squares and calculate how much cut, how much fill you got in each quadrant, and you can add that up. It'll take you forever. There's also freelance services you can use when you're first starting up, where you go, hey man, I know this guy wants me to do this job for him. Can you, if I send you the plans and the soils report, can you send me back quantities? Yeah. And then you just go on Excel, you build your basic bid sheet, and your basic bid sheet should include a mobilization line item that has how many machines you're bringing in, any surveying you're going to have to do because you're going to need a good surveyor. Everybody needs a surveyor. Staking, all that stuff. You need to put all that in your mobilization line item. And when you do that, you want to mark that up at least 20%. That's in Texas. I don't know. Some people in Indiana, I'm not putting names out here, can get 40 or 50 somehow. I'm not saying names, but you can't do that down here. Good luck. They'll laugh you out of the hog. But so you want to start with that, and then you want to move on to the next thing you're wanting to work on. So depending on what you're doing. So if you're hauling off dirt, you need to calculate how many yards of dirt you're actually hauling off. You need to swell that dirt. You need to figure how many loads a day you're going to get off the job site, and you need to figure loading time. So, Devin, I'll let you take it from there. I've been talking a lot.
Good information.
It's good stuff. It's good information. And that's the thing. And the one thing we kind of got to go back to, I guess, in utilization, when you're looking at a rental on a piece of equipment, say you're going to use that dozer for 4 hours to strip, you're paying for the day. So that's something you got to factor in. If you own the piece, it's a little different. You're bringing it on, you're putting 4 hours of runtime on the machine, your rate's built into that. If you're renting a piece of equipment for a day or a week or a month and you're not getting the full use out of it, and you calculate your hourly rate off the cost of that piece, if your utilization is real low, you're going to start cutting into your margins too. So you got to kind of look at on the scale of the month or the job, am I going to get full utilization of that piece so that your hourly rate's going to work? And if you're not, you're going to have to adjust that rate. So most rental companies are going to run a 40, what is it? You're doing an 840 and 160.
You only get most rentals. You can pay a little extra with some of them and do a 50-hour week.
Yeah, that was a lot of it I was seeing. Was it depends on they base off of an 8-hour day. Is what it's based.
40-hour week and 160 for the month.
What dirt contractor works an 8-hour day? I don't know of any. I don't.
That's the thing you got to factor into your rate, right? So when you're doing the math, you say you look at the scope of the job and you're going to bring a 320 and a D6 in or whatever you're bringing. When you run your numbers and you figure out how many hours you're going to put on to do the job, well, if you don't have 160 hours of use in that machine for the month, now you got to go back and adjust your rate. So if your total cost was 10 grand, you divide it by 160. When you're only going to use it 100, you got to break that 10 grand down on 100 hours, not 160. Now, Exactly. Yeah. When you're building it off an hourly rate. So that's one thing to think of and look at, especially when you're using rental equipment, because when you're starting, you're going to use rental gear. When you own the equipment, that number's a little different. The calculation works a little differently on it. You're going back to utilization of the machine over time, that kind of stuff. And it's a little more forgiving if you mix up or miss something. But if you're paying a monthly rental rate and you're not using that and you've built your price off the hourly rate that you figured out, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot pretty quick on that too. So something to consider, especially with that.
The other thing I would add to that too is when you are getting ready to start your first job, like I was talking about, guys, the first thing you got to do is you got to build you a bid form. You got to build a proposal. You can go online though, and you can find them. Great thing to use is QuickBooks, actually, believe it or not. You can get QuickBooks, like a cheap version of it. I don't even know what it costs. But
it's about $800.
Yeah, it's about $800. And you can build estimates off that. I wouldn't recommend doing it off that. I personally am the fan of building my own, because when you do that, you can have all of your inclusions, exclusions, all that stuff on the next page. Devin can attest to this from some of the work we've done together. My proposal is 5 pages long. And it was for literally just to dig a trench. So, but you gotta do. Unfortunately, I trust him more than anything in the world. Don't get me wrong; he's got my back. But it's unfortunate that you have to do that. But that's further down in the episode. I don't mean to get that far down. The biggest things you got to know, guys, when you're doing estimating, is you've got to know what stuff costs, and you've got to know margins. If you don't know your margins, just imagine this, okay? I'm going to hand Devin $100. I'm immediately taking $10 from him, because they're going to take 10% on that job, right? And they're going to hold that interest-free till the end of the job. Now, if you're doing public work, it's 5%. But if you're doing any kind of commercial work, it's normally 10%. So what you have to do is you have to build your jobs knowing that, hey, I might be doing a $300,000 job, but $30,000 of that job I'm not going to see for possibly up to a year, 2 years. So you have to build your rates to cover that cost, to cover all your costs, and still have operating income so you can get down the road. And that's something you got to configure. You have to build your rates so that you know, hey, 10% of this number I'm not going to see. So that's where you swell that rate. You swell that rate with that 10%. You go, okay, I'm putting 20 in this machine, but you actually make a line inside that hourly rate that goes retainage. And that's what I do. I put a retainage line item into my actual hourly rate. So I go, okay, this is what it costs right now with the retainage rate. So I go, okay, if it's, say it's $220 an hour to run that machine, that means they're taking $22 an hour out of my hourly rate. So I just tack on that $22. So I'm getting my money back in a way. Yes, they're still taking that, but I'm getting the margin I actually need to operate.
So yeah, margin's been a big part of what I've been trying to figure out when it comes to the aspects of actually getting the cost right and understanding, because there's a lot of information out there when it comes to margins and profits, and nobody actually has broke it down like that, Brandon. And so I'm interested.
So when it comes to margin, every company is different. So the bigger the company, typically the smaller the margin. The smaller the company, the bigger the margin you're running, because basically your margin is what's accounting for your overhead cost. So when you're running a job, people always get this confused. Markup and margin. They're two different things. Markup, if I want to put a 30% markup on $100, it's $130. You're adding $30 to it. To get your margin, you're dividing your $100 by 0.7. If you want a 30% margin and your cost is $100, you're dividing that by 0.7. That's the difference. And those numbers aren't the same. Nope. And everyone confuses that. A markup and a margin are two different things. So when you're talking about financials for a company and your profit margin, they're not talking about the markup you put on something to get your profit margin. For a good company to operate, anything less than a 10% net profit margin at the end of the year is pretty friggin' slim. Most companies, if you look at any like accounting and CPAs and financials and stuff, you're in that 10 to 20% net profit range. Most companies are going to need to have a 30%, 40% gross margin to get a 10 to 20% net margin. And basically what that means is after your operating expenses, your overhead comes out of it. So if I'm bidding a job and it's $100 for the job and I need a 30% margin on that $100, that 30% margin is what's going to pay for my shop, my secretary, the admin, the advertising, the marketing, the hats. All that stuff comes out of that margin, and what's left is your net profit at the end of the year, your taxes, all that stuff. So that's where people confuse things. You need to figure out your numbers and your overhead cost to figure out what margin you need to operate on. And that's where a lot of guesswork comes in. So when you're starting out, you don't know how much money you're going to make this year. You don't know what your overhead is. You don't know any of these things.
It's just a guess, yeah.
It's an educated guess, right? So you have to look at it and say, okay, I think I'm going to do $100,000 a month in revenue. Okay, I'm going to do 1.2 million this year. Well, my shop is going to cost, $3,000 a month, and my secretary is going to cost this, and my QuickBooks is going to cost that, and there's all different things to add into that. Then you get a number at the end of that. So say it's $300,000. You need to make that $300,000 fit into your margin. So when it comes to building numbers and building your cost, you can kind of do it the dumb, simple way, which is basically figure out your bare cost in that machine. You know, your operator, your fuel, all the costs that are going to, everything we were talking about before. If you know that it's going to cost you $120 an hour to run that machine, and you've done some dumb math, and you figure out that, okay, I need a 30% gross margin in order to get a 10% net margin at the end of the year. If the only thing that your company does is supply equipment and man hours, and you're not buying material, you can take your cost of that machine, the 120, divide that by 0.7, and you've just tagged a 30% margin onto your hourly costs. And then at the end of the year, if all that you did was just supply machine time and build machine time, you've basically effectively built a 30% margin on everything you've done. Where it gets convoluted is when you start buying materials and stuff to a site. You can't put a 30% margin on a piece of material. Typically, you're looking at like a 20% markup. So that's where things get confused, because on material, you usually put a markup on it. On equipment and labor and man hours, you're putting a margin on that. They're two different things. So you almost want to separate your material side of the business and your equipment and man hours side of the business. But if all you're going to do is supply machine time and you're not going to have markup on stuff like that, the simple way to do it when you're starting out until you get your numbers is shoot to have a 30% gross margin on everything. And then you adjust from there. In the first year, you might end up with a 5% net profit, or you might end up with a 20% net profit. And then you can adjust your numbers from there once you have some data to back that up. But in the beginning, that's kind of the simple way to really start with it is work it that way. Most big excavation companies, even probably about your size and a little bigger, they're usually in that 20 to 30% gross profit margin range. Smaller outfits like myself and that, we're above 30 usually to cover our overhead cost. But that's where you have to kind of get creative to work with that. Because if I'm bidding against a big utility company, their margin is going to be lower than mine on the bid.
That's
so
why
then my hourly rate goes up higher. Well, and that's just the thing, right? So when you're smaller, you got to know that your overhead is getting chewed up by less pieces. So if I have 10 pieces paying for X amount of overhead, or I have 100 pieces, my overhead doesn't typically scale proportionately to the amount of pieces that I'm adding to the pie when it comes to equipment, right? So a big company that might have 100 pieces, their shop might only be 2% of their cost, or their overhead might be 2% of their cost. But a smaller company doesn't have quite as big of a shop and doesn't have as many employees, but it's still quite a bit of money in proportion to the amount of hours they're billing out.
Understood.
So that's where you got to kind of play with that a bit. But if you shoot to be at like a 30% margin in your first year, you're probably not going to lose money. And, in that sense, you're not going to lose money on things as long as you're not going crazy with buying, extravagant stuff for your shop, going nuts. But if you're operating a normal business, if you start at a 30% margin, that's kind of give you that you're in the middle ground, right? So on the high end, you might, some companies might be at 40%, and on the big outfits, they're going to be at like 20 in that range. So if you shoot at 30, it's a pretty good starting point to kind of play with it. Yeah. And like I said, you will have to adjust it. It's just one of those things. And that's where having a good accountant and constantly updating your financials and your numbers and knowing your costs in every job, you can track your margin at every single project that you do. You go do a job for a month, figure out all your costs, everything into that, track your margin on that one job. And you can see, okay, I charged a 30% margin this job and I netted out 8%. Okay, well, I got to bump my margin up a little bit if I want to be at 10 or 12, or you can back it down maybe because you're making a good profit if you want to be more competitive. But it's a good starting point. If you start at 30, you can kind of go
work up and down from
it.
Yep.
The other thing too that you can do to help you out with this is when you're taking a rental, right? They're going to give you a weekly. They're going to give you, like he was just talking about, the full proposal, right? Like where it's got all the taxes on it, mobilization, all that stuff. What you want to do is you divide that by 3 weeks instead of 4. Just remember that you divide it by 3, and you're going to bump it into only a 40-hour work week, not a 50. You're never going to put a 50-hour work week when you're building an hourly rate. Even if you work 50 hours, you're only putting a 40-hour hourly rate, and I'll tell you why you do that. You're getting more money per hour if you bid at a 40-hour work rate. Now, if the job is authorized that kind of overtime, then you go ahead and go 50. But what I always do is I bill my jobs at 40 hours. So I'm actually getting more an hour when I do work that 50 hours, because if you stretch that amount of money out over 50 hours versus 40, you're actually not getting as much an hour.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
Now, the 0.7 thing, I've never heard that before, actually. I just learned something. That's pretty clever, dude.
It's just
I got a different way I calculate it, but you and me actually came out the same number. I just do it differently.
Yeah, and that's just, it's a simple, like I said, you have to be careful with that, because when you start throwing materials and trucking and all this stuff in where you're adding markup on it, that can skew your numbers way out of whack. Because if you look at, you did 100,000 in revenue this month, but 30,000 of that was trucking, where you only had a 10% markup on that trucking, or 20% markup on that trucking, and 70,000 was machine hours with your margin on it. That can start messing things up. So you got to pay attention to your numbers and what you're doing when you're doing it. But in the beginning, when you're trying to build rates, it's a simple way to kind of get your hourly rate for the piece that's going to encompass your overhead. So when you look at your overhead, you can lump, your insurance, you can lump your shop, you can put your trucks, all those things that you can't bill directly to the job, you can bail into your overhead. Because in your insurance, say you got a $50,000 year insurance policy, how many hours of the year am I working? I don't know. I don't have enough data to give me an average. Yeah. So rather than trying to guess on that, you can lump that insurance into your overhead cost and then work it out off the 30% margin, instead of trying to, charge 35 cents an hour to each piece, because you don't know. So until you have all the data to really work off of, it's hard to get those numbers to be accurate, and you can be way off. So when you're starting out, using that little cheat sheet is kind of the way to do it, so that you're not losing money, and then also accumulate data so you can figure out down the road
what the true cost is.
Yeah, you'd never want to run a company that's 10 years in business and hundreds of millions of dollars using that formula. You'd be way out to lunch. But in the beginning, when you're only small and you're starting out, that's a pretty good way to get a good average and a good starting point, and then you can kind of adjust as you go. But when you're doing that, you want to track every job, and at the end of the job, you want to sit down and, okay, what's my actual numbers on it? You price it at a 30% margin. I figured I was going to make 10%
once
net.
Everything comes out of that pot of money, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can sit down and look at your numbers and say, okay, well, I actually got, a 12% net profit on it, and I had, a 33% gross margin. Okay, then you can fine tune from there until you get a year or two into business and you have enough hours and data to actually build these proper numbers and sheets. But in the beginning, I would start with that. And different industries use different margins. In the excavation and dirt world, that 20 to 40 is a pretty normal window. You get into like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, those trades, some of those guys are running like 60, 70% margins. Especially in a growing HVAC or electrical company and stuff, most of those guys are running like 60+% margins on their jobs. They're making huge money on that stuff. But every industry is different and what they'll bear when it comes to rates and that. So when you get into the thing to keep in mind with the dirt world is you're bidding against guys that are $150, $200 million companies. Where you get into the service industries, they tend to be smaller companies. So their overheads are all pretty similar. So they run higher margins to all compensate for similar overheads.
The cost of goods that associated with come with the business.
Exactly, right? So when you look at the industry as a whole, especially in the excavation space, our overhead is massive, and then you get tons of big companies that are doing, $100, $200, $300 million. And if you're bidding against those guys, well, their margins are a whole lot less. So
yeah, because the rates are going to be the same.
The rates, if Cinecola goes out to Holt and rents a machine, and you go rent a machine, they might get a 10% better rate than you, but it's not going to be crazy different. But their margin on that machine when they make their rate is going to be a 20% margin. You might need a 40% margin. So when you're going to
keep the doors open,
yeah. So that's the thing to kind of consider. So in our line of work in that industry, start in that 20 to 40 range, pick a number, and start bidding jobs. And if you're not getting jobs, back it down a bit. If you're getting every job, put it up. And then
that's a pretty good indicator.
You can kind of play with that. And then once you do one or two jobs, you might lose money or break even on the first job, and you might make a shit ton of money on the next one, and then you can kind of adjust from that. But when you're doing what I was talking about, make sure you're tracking your numbers on every project, as short a period as you can, so that if you're wrong, you're not losing a crazy amount or
multiple
whatever.
Projects. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the only thing with it, but it's a good starting point to kind of start with that.
Like right now, we're roughly right at the 20% mark, like he's talking about. Like when I first started, shit, dude, I was getting 40, 45% margins. But you start getting on these bigger projects like he's talking about, and you're starting to bid against the bigger boys. They're moving dirt for half of
pennies,
half of what you can move it for. But the reason is, like he's talking about, they're spreading that overhead out over 25 jobs instead of
just one or two.
Just one or two. Yeah. So that's why we try to run between 4 and 5 jobs at a time. And if we're running that about the size we are, if we're running 5 decent sized jobs, we're good. If we're under that 5, that's when we're kind of like going, please give us a change order for something.
And that's why when you're starting out, keeping your overhead as low as possible is critical, because the more overhead you add when you're starting, the more your rates have to be up to cover that overhead. And then you're cutting yourself out of jobs and you're outbidding on them. So when you start out, keep it as lean and as cheap as possible.
Run it right out of the house. So.
Out of the house, out of your truck. You don't need an office. You don't need a big shop. Going out and buying equipment. That's the other thing I guess to look at too, is when you purchase a piece of equipment versus renting it, you can kind of run the numbers a little differently and your rates can be a little bit less on that. The cost of ownership, depending on what you're buying and how much you're using it, can work out to be less and your rates can be lower. But it's dependent on the piece and depending on how much use and stuff. But when you're starting, just rent. But keep all your other unnecessary overhead as low as possible so your margins can be competitive and you can be profitable. Once you get bigger, you add more pieces, you're doing multiple jobs, like he's saying. Now you're spreading that overhead out over multiple jobs. You can start adding stuff to it. But that's the big thing that people screw up on a lot when they start.
And the other thing, too, is once you get on the bigger jobs, you're moving so much freaking dirt that you'll get stupid margins in trucking. It's insane. Like, I didn't realize it till I hit that mark like last year, I was telling you, where I finally got to that level. I've gone from like the mid-sized jobs now where I'm getting more into the top tier jobs. Like I'm running, every job I'm running 50, 60,000 yards trucking. You know what I mean? It's just bigger jobs. So, what we're doing now is we've discovered this. And this is me talking to you. I mean, I've been doing this on my own for 5 years, but I'm still learning. And so, and Devin will attest to this too, is a business owner, you should never stop learning. The minute you stop learning, you die. The minute you don't adapt, you die.
Yeah, that's a lot of things I try to tell my guys every day is the same thing. You're not learning something, it's time to get out.
Yeah. Like I'm learning right now that trucking's carrying my jobs. There's some jobs right now I'm getting $100 load profit on right now. That doesn't sound like a lot to one truck, but you're running 500-600 loads of dirt. That's a lot of freaking money. That's $50,000-$60,000 right off the top that you ain't paying nobody else. You ain't got to pay nothing. That's going to you. And it's helping us because of what happened to us in 21 when we took that hit. All that money, unfortunately, right now, but it is what it is. It's going behind to catch up on the old crap so we can move forward. But here next year, once that's behind us and we can maintain that kind of margins, we can add the next 3 tractors we want to add. We can add the haul truck. We can add the dumps and stuff that we want to do. Me and Devin were talking about it. My ultimate goal, man, I don't want to get any bigger than about 30 machines. That's as big as I want to get. That's the perfect size company, man. You're not a monster. You're not having to bill millions upon millions of dollars every month just to keep the lights on. I'm not even talking about making money. Just keep the lights on, man. So it's an interesting thing. You can go one of 2 routes in this industry. You can go like this, go vertical, and about 2 years from now, we'll be talking about how you went bankrupt. Or you can go kind of level off. Yep. Next opportunity comes, kind of go up with it, level off. Next opportunity comes, level off. And I was an idiot. I went vertical for about 5 minutes. Then I realized COVID happened, and I went, I stayed there. And I've stayed there for about 3 years. I'm glad I did, because I've watched 2 or 3 guys that started when I did, and they got huge, and now they're calling me, sending me guys because they can't keep them busy. So
it's unfortunate.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, it's unfortunate when a slowdown happens. That's what exposes companies. Unfortunately, it is. It's when works work, and everybody's getting paid on time and all that's going on. Man, everybody's blowing up. But when you're just kind of in a steady. You're not in a recession, but it's just steady work where it's not blowing through the doors where you can get any kind of money you want. Last year guys were making insane money on jobs. I mean, margins were kind of fluking out, like you were saying, because people were begging you to get on their job. And it was like, hey, man, you know, I can't get to you, but if you throw another 20% on this job, yeah, I'll get to it tomorrow. Hopefully, yeah, well, we can do that, you know. And these GCs were willing to do it because, you know, they're going to have to start paying liquidated damages if they didn't get the job started. So there was a lot more incentive to pay you. Whereas now it's kind of, the interest rates have gone up and now it's kind of leveled back out. There for a long time, it was the subs were winning. Now it's kind of okay, we got to play nice with each other now. So, you know, unfortunately you know, a prime example is I want to tell you about something about owning a business. It happened to me today. I can tell, Devin can tell you this. I get told Monday, hey man, we're going to wire you on Friday. Okay, cool. So Friday morning comes around. We have our meeting. Guys are in the office this morning. We're all sitting there and wire doesn't come. My mom calls. You know, she's still recovering from being in surgery. And I call you. I said, hey, Bubba, did you get your money? Nope. Oh, you didn't get yours either, huh? No. They said they were going to wire it, but it doesn't look like that's happening. I'm probably getting a check. Oh, what a surprise. Did you get yours yet? Nope. I literally got off the phone with you. What was that, like 4:55?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I got it at 5 o'clock. I ain't an email. Your wire sent. I'm like, thank you so much. That was so kind of you. Friday at 5 o'clock. Their owner had forgotten and was at the PGA tour thing they got going on in Friday in Dallas right now. That tells you how much he cares about the subs. So this is my point to this. That's the situations a company my size I'm still dealing with.
Sure.
Just multiply it times 50 though when you're counting on one job because you're only doing one job at a time, and that shit happens to you. That's what's you gotta.
Heart's gonna be racing like crazy.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. That's what I was talking about. Those problems that are gonna come up, and then you're just like, "Holy crap!"
You got to mentally prepare yourself for this stuff, man. It kills people. Like I'm not trying to doom gloom like we did last episode, but I'm just being real for a second. Just be careful. Do your due diligence, man. Check these guys out. Call around, man, and you're gonna get my number. If you get a job with somebody, call me. Call him. He hadn't worked down here very long, but he could probably help. That's what I started doing about 6-7 months in on my own. I started calling people going, hey, have you worked for this guy before? Yeah, I have. Oh, are they okay? Yeah, they're great. You're great. Okay, cool.
Word of mouth is a huge thing.
It's the best thing you can do. And honestly, man, if you've got a good reputation from working for other people and stuff, call your old employer, dude. They'll tell you. They're not going to be afraid to admit it to you. Like I've had 2 of my guys go out on their own. They'll call me up. They're like, hey, they're doing jobs I was doing like 3 or 4 years ago. Those size jobs. They're working for them. And they'll call me up and I'm like, man, they're great, dude. And tell those guys I said, what's up, you know? Right. And, if I can send you any dirt, let me know. That's the other thing too. Start networking with these other excavation companies. You got an import job or an export job and you got a good budget in there, dude, and they got a job right up the street. Bring them dirt, dude.
That's it. Simple phone call.
Just hustling money, man. That's where the money's made, man, is in the trucking, dude. The trucking, the demolition work, all that stuff. That's where the money's at, man. If you can haul concrete, you're charging them $300 a load to haul concrete, and it's only costing you $75 a load. You're making money, dude.
That's been a part for me that I've actually wanted to start doing, but it's like I know I can't do that just on the weekend. So it's like, oh man, okay, what can we start with first off, and then get to where you actually want to be. So
the other thing too, you got to look at too, though, when you're building your hourly rate, though, and I don't mean to keep bouncing around about this hourly rate thing. You want to incorporate all your costs, though, into, like he was just talking about, that 30% markup. Before you even do that, though, you want to have that already in there on top of that 30%. Do you understand what I'm saying by that?
No, say it again.
So, like you're going to eventually have to get a software, right, to do your takeoffs and stuff like that, right? So you're going to have a monthly payment on it probably when you first start, because that's what I had to do when I got – that's something we didn't talk about. Let me go back really fast.
Finish what you're doing. We'll go back to
this
that.
Episode. People are going to be like wanting to pull their hair out.
We're just going to call you Brandon the Yo-Yo today.
Brandon is on something. What you want to do is you want to get the first thing you should buy when you go into business for yourself. After you file your business, you get some insurance, you get a name figured out, you get a cheap website made on like GoDaddy.com or whatever. Go to AgTech. reach out to the local sales rep. I'm going to send you his number, by the way. He's great people, good friend of mine. Loves the show, by the way. He listens. He's going to hook you up. They do a 12-month financing deal. It's a $20,000 software.
It's not bad for that.
It's going to be the best money you ever spend in your life. I'll tell you that right now. It's going to get you cut fill, how many yards you got to haul, import, export. It's going to give you your square footages for your building pads. It's going to give you how much square foot for your parking lots, how much square foot for your, it's going to give you everything. And they're going to train you how to do it. That's included in that price is I think it's 5 hours. Was it 5 hours of training?
Couldn't tell you. I got a guy that I hire subcontracted out to. But
it's like Brandon was saying at the start of the show, the freelancing.
Yeah, like honestly, I did it the old school way for years. You know, get the prints, do the takeoff myself, and I got so good at it I could do them pretty quick. But when you're bidding, 20, 30 jobs at a time, sure, it's still a couple hours every time where you can use that software, send it off, and it saves you so much time. And time is your most valuable asset when you're starting because you're wearing 10 hats. You're doing the billing, you're doing the payroll, you're doing the job, you're running to get the materials. You don't have a free minute in the day. So if you can do anything that's going to save you time, and especially that, when it comes to the software, that stuff is so accurate and so quick and so good at spitting off quantity takeoffs on it, it just cuts down your time. For me, my other way of doing that was I literally subcontracted out. I got a guy, does my takeoffs for me. Awesome guy, uses ag tech. It's so simple. It's awesome. It saves you a ton of time.
That's what our engineer out there on the job site actually uses. But I'm still pretty old school. I'll still get out the engineer's ruler and the set of plans and
yeah, you will the first couple of times you look at it and then you realize that the thing is exactly deadly accurate and then you start trusting it and you just go with it.
And then the other thing is too, when you're sitting in your driveway at 10 o'clock at night because you had to work all day running your other job that you're doing at the job, you're gonna get so pissed off because you're trying to do it like this and measure it out. You can go, man, I just bought a laptop and trace this out and get my quantities in about an hour. It's a lot easier. So that was something I got it right here on my sticky note. Get a good estimating software. You don't have to buy an ag tech. I actually, believe it or not, we have 2 other keys for Dirtworks, which is like some cheap stuff. It's like $2,000, but it's just as accurate. You can't build CAD files with it or any of that cool stuff with it, but it's a lot more involved. You have to trace every line, whereas ag tech, as long as the PDF's kind of good, it'll take the line work off of it, and you might have to tie some stuff up, and you have to vectorize it and label everything. But the other thing we need to talk about is we've nailed knowing costs, so that's good. We've nailed networking with other contractors, starting your estimate. Reach out, guys, when you're starting up to other contractors and maybe see if they wouldn't mind sending you a copy of an estimate, not filled out or anything, but just kind of get an idea of what one looks like. The other thing you can do too is you can actually ask a GC if they'll send you other estimates from other companies, but you just ask them to blot it out. They'll blot out the costs, and it gives you ideas for what a proposal could look like.
Yeah, I've actually had to look up a couple of them just to start kind of getting my head wrapped around it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I used to do that with guys when they're starting up. They call me up, hey man, can I see what your estimate looks like? Yeah, no problem. Now mine's generated off of software I use. The first page is. The other 3 I made myself on PDF. But the first page it's generated, but it's still a great thing you could build off of Excel or something, if you wanted to build it that way. The biggest thing you want to include on your proposals, man, is you want to include your quantities. A lot of guys I see nowadays aren't doing that. That really can bite you in the butt. If you don't put down how much you're actually going to do on that job, they'll go, well, you said you're just going to haul all this dirt. No, I gave you a quantity, because then you got something to hold them liable to. So when you go to contract, make sure you actually put the quantities in the contract too, because if they try to say, hey, well, you had 16,000 yards of haul off, and you do that, and then the utility guy, love you, bro, but
spoils are always a great thing.
And the utility guy and the utility and concrete guy leave another 4,000 yards on the job just sitting there, and they play, oh well, we hauled our dirt off, because pipe guys, I love you, pipe guys don't know how to estimate dirt. They know how to put pipe in the ground,
and they're good at it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking crap, but they don't know how to figure out, oh wow, I'm putting a 12-inch pipe in with 3 inches of base below it and 6 inches of base above it. That's like 2 feet worth of shit. that's not getting dirt put back.
Ah, the dirt guy will get it.
Yeah.
The dirt guy will
So
get it. Just put it in his pile over there.
So they'll take their length and width and they'll go, yeah, divided by 27. Cool. Yeah. So it's like 100 yards. I'm going to haul it off. It's really like 5,000 yards.
There you go.
But guys, make sure that you do that because that's something that you can show. You'd be like, okay, well, you don't believe me? Here you go. Here's the trucking bill I just paid. And most trucking companies give you the actual quantity of dirt you hauled off. A lot of them do. Or they'll give you tickets. And go, I hauled 20 yards of load, verified. And here you go. This is how much I hauled off. Other thing you can do is once you got some money, you get the drone guy. You get one of these guys got a drone. Have them come out, shoot the whole job for you before the utility guy gets out there.
Yeah, topo. Yeah.
Yeah, showing the whole job's on grade. So when they do that shit to you, you can be like, that's fine. That's cool. I'm hauling it for $500 a load. That's not even including the loading time, though. That's just the load.
There you go.
Then you hammer their ass. And then guess what happens? 90% of the time, they show back up with a loader and they load it out themselves. So,
yeah, because it costs you to go back in there just to grab that dirt.
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. So, anyways, we got off topic with that, but it's little things like that, though, man. When you're starting up, that's really going to help you, especially when you're estimating. Like, you want to build your estimate where it flows. So when they're looking at it, they're like, okay, you want it so they don't call you 6 times because I noticed this when I first started bidding. You might have noticed this too. They used to call me all the time, dude. They're like, hey, man, do you got this in your scope? Yeah, I got that. Oh, okay, cool. Now they call me and they go, hey, bro, I just read your proposal. I saw you were just going to MC only 5 foot outside the pad. I actually need you to do 10. I know the soils report says 5, but I need you to put 10. Oh, okay, sure, no problem. So then I'll recalculate it, right? And I will immediately put moisture conditioning 10 foot outside. And then that way it's little things like that estimator from the GC is going, okay, these guys know what they're doing. They got a real well-written proposal.
There you go.
I just had that happen the other day. Job we're bidding on, our proposal, same thing. We break down for utility. Okay, we're doing so many linear feet of this diameter pipe, so many linear feet of this pipe, this many hydrants, this many catch basins, everything. Break it down, submit the proposal, get a call the next day from the GC. Hey, we're looking at your proposal. We got all this stuff. We don't have any of this stuff on the other bids. Like, is something missing or what's going on? I was like, no, you have all this offsite work going on. What, really? They go through the plans, and sure enough, whoever was quoting it before missed all this offsite work. So looking at my proposal, I'm $150,000 more than anybody else. Everybody else missed the offsite work. Mm-hmm. So because I listed that in there and the GC read through the proposal and could see the quantities of pipe and all the stuff broken down, he can look at it and be like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's not just giving me a out to lunch number. If I hadn't listed that, I probably wouldn't even have got the job. They would have awarded it to somebody else and they would have got change ordered to shit, or somebody would have had it took off from the job and screwed up. You did him a favor, yeah. I did him a favor, but I also did myself a favor because my estimate didn't just get thrown out the window because it was double what the next guy's was, because I could justify why there was that cost there. And it goes both ways.
So we just did, I've told you this, the viewers have heard this story before, but this will explain the whole story. We did a job. We didn't do it, the actual job. We got awarded the job. We had a contract for it and everything. But it was a caliber collision. And we bid initially off the soils report. And they said, hey, by the way, we need this job rebid. It went like 6-7 months later. They called us up. They said, hey, there's new plans, though. Be advised. There's some new plans. Well, they come out with the structural plans finally. We didn't have the structural notes before. So the structural notes say, do not do what Geotech report states. Structural engineer will not sign off unless blah, blah, blah is done, right? So Pete, my estimator, recalculates the job to do, instead of MC, all select, 8 foot of select fill all the way up. And this is a big pad. I mean, it's like 50,000 square foot. It ain't small. So it's a huge difference in number.
Oh, absolutely.
But nobody else saw that, right? So we go back and we send it to them. And they're like, oh, man, we can't do that. That's way outside the first budget. I said, okay, well, you got new plans and stuff's changed. So they call us back and they said, hey, we're going to contract you on the original proposal. Okay. So we're not doing the 8 foot of select that the structural engineer says he will not give the bill sign off on. Well, we're going to give him okay it. The guy wouldn't budge about it. He said, no, I'm not going to do that.
Sure.
Right? So, it's his license. It's his insurance that would be paying for this if the building collapsed. Right? So they sent us a contract. Everything goes good. We get everything done, do our red pen the contract, send it back to them. And they call us and they say, hey, can you revise that number now to do the 8 foot of select? I said, sure, no problem. So I sent them a change order. Same price. Actually, it was a little bit more because select went up a little bit because it's been a couple months. So I sent them back a price. Man, I'm going to need you to work on that number. That's what it costs, man. I'm not coming down about it.
Sure.
You already got me on a contract, so sorry. Get more money from the owner. Well, the owner doesn't want. I don't care what the owner don't want to pay. It's not my problem.
You gotta be thick skinned, yeah.
Yeah, you got your structural engineer is telling you have to do it this way. So have the owner call the structural engineer. He's probably going to tell him the same thing. So, anyways, they ended up giving the job to somebody else. They did the 8 foot of select. I found out. They charged them, initially they had them go out there and do the MC. And then the structural engineer figured out that they did that because they went out and actually bored it. And when they bored it, they figured out there's only 2 foot of select in the pad. So they made them rip it all out.
Oh, wow.
Bat charged the cheese.
So it ended up costing them double.
The dirt contractor charged them double. Rightly so. He did what he was told to do. So that's my point, guys. Even if you're in the right sometimes, it's not always going to work out. But like he's talking about, it does 99% of the time. If you're working for a guy that's got some common sense
and they're reputable.
Yeah, and they're reputable, and they actually read what the reports. They read the geotech. They read the structural notes. They read the civil plans. If they can recite the plans back to you, that's the guy you want to work for because they're like, wow, this guy's on his stuff. He actually pays attention. I can't tell you how many times I've turned bids in, and the guy's like, yeah, man, you're like 80 grand higher than everybody else. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, they missed something. No, they didn't. You overbid something. I'm like, no. There's a turn lane called out in the plans. Did they do that? What do you mean there's a turn lane?
And then they're having to go call them.
And
they haven't asked them about their proposal.
What do you mean there's a turn lane? Oh, well, there's a turn lane that has to have 2 foot of flex space underneath it with GeoGrid. Did they catch that? Oh, no, I don't see anything on anybody else's proposal. It's stuff like that, man, that's going to help you separate yourself from everybody else. Because there's a lot of lazy people. People naturally are lazy. If they can be lazy about something, they're going to be lazy. A lot of these guys are just not, they don't want to type these proposals up. They just want to click print and email it so they can get to the next one. But if you just take a little bit of time to type it out, at 5 extra minutes, man, it's going to save you a lot of headaches. It's going to save you a lot of heartaches. And you going, I think I included that in my scope. And you're not even questioning yourself. Or you're just saying yes because you're so excited because you're new and you want to get the job. And this is where you got to pull the reins back a little bit and be like, no. I got to think strategically here. I got to think tactically.
That's. I've actually listened to a lot of the podcasts. You guys are one that I really enjoy listening to, and but there's a couple of podcasts that they'll have individual people, kind of like myself, on it, and you'll hear a lot of them talk about how like they just want to get every job and they want to, go out to those job sites every time they get that phone call, and they want to be that competitive, and I'm loving the fact that I get to listen to those things and the stuff that you're talking about today, to where you, like you just said, to be like, all right, no, I don't need it, or hey, that's not going to work for me.
Don't get butthurt if you don't get every job. If you start getting every job, you're doing something wrong. You missed something.
I bid 30 jobs a month and I might win 5, and I don't care. I know I'm going to win about 5. I've accepted that for a long time because guess what? Those 5 I won, I'm probably making dang good money on them. It's going to take forever to get paid, but I'm going to make good money on them. But the other thing you got to look at too, though, is when you are building your company, man, you have to do everything cheap as humanly possible. It is like you got to pay yourself crap. It's unfortunate, but you have to. You have to be frugal. You're probably going to work a lot of Saturdays. Probably going to work a lot of Sundays sometimes. You got to be willing to put the time in. That's the other thing. When you're estimating, you got to think, okay, I'm on a 3-week job right now. The average job takes 60 days from the time you bid it to the time a blade touches the ground. on average. I mean, that's when everything's perfect. You know, I can't tell you how many times we started a job we bid in February. We just started in August. You know, I can't tell you how many times it's happened. Yeah, you got to update your pricing, but you initially bid that job, say in February, and the owner has changes or the city changes something. So you have to constantly bid. So if you're wanting to do 2 jobs a month, just think about this. You're probably going to have to bid roughly 20 to 25 jobs a month. That don't sound like a lot, but that's a lot.
Oh yeah, that's a big time.
And then you're going to probably have
that's a lot of time outside of the work to do.
Yeah, and you're going to be doing that and then having.
No, you're doing that at night because you're doing the work
outside
in the day.
the work. Yeah.
So the way I did it
That's right.
was, like Devin was talking about, I bought the ag tech key, but initially I didn't even use it. I actually had my buddy do my takeoffs for me. And what I did was I had a little Excel form that I built. And I would sit on the job, running the job with my guys, and I would actually type up proposals and do Excel. And then if something happened on the job, I was typing change orders up for my job right then and there. And I'd walk up to the superintendent, I'm like, here's your change order. All right, cool. You know? So I was the project manager, the superintendent, the fuel guy, the grease guy. Yep. I did everything.
The parts runner.
Yeah. The best thing I did was about 3 months in, we got to the point where we were on 3 jobs at once. So what I did was I got a superintendent. That was the best thing I did. And it was a buddy of mine that worked with me, and I trusted him. He took good care of me. We had a difference of opinion, so he left, but so be it. He's off doing his thing now. More power to him.
Awesome.
But he helped me get it started, and he brought in some great guys. And most of them are still here. And you know, it's just know that you're wanting to do too. Like he was talking about, you're gonna figure out that number you got to be at once you start figuring out what everything costs. So say your overheads, if you're gonna be knowing you probably need 2-3 guys getting started. You'll probably know, I can already tell you're that kind of guy. You're gonna go after a daycare center or something like that. Something a little meat on it, $100,000 job, something like that. Your overhead on that size job, you're probably gonna be at $25,000 a month, just starting out the bat.
Okay.
That don't sound like a lot.
Oh, off the start,
Yeah.
yeah, sure does to me.
Yeah.
15,000,
I mean,
1,500 sounds like a lot.
You don't even want to know. You don't even want to know what mine is. It'll make you cry. But anyways, you want to get to the point where you're incorporating that number in everything you do. So if you're doing a job that is going to take you a full month, that job has to cover the whole month's overhead just on one job. So if it's $100,000 job, and like he was talking about, if your suppliers alone are 30,000 of it, there's only 70,000 in there. Well, you got to cover rentals still. A dozer's renting right now for anywhere from $9,000 to $12,000 a month without tax. So if you kick the tax in there, all that, it's $15,000 a month. So you got to think about that. Then you got payroll. You got to pay your guys. They got fuel. So if you're $25,000 a month, you really need to go after a $150,000 job. That's really where you're going to make your money, because, and it's all scaling. You got to learn how to scale it. Once you learn how to scale that, that's where the key is. Now you can go do 4 jobs at 40,000 a piece, and you're doing 160,000, but you're going to be running rampant. You're going to be literally, as soon as you're finishing, you're throwing the dozer on the truck and you're going to the next job, and you're praying to God that this guy ain't calling you because there's no issues on that job at all. You're praying there's not a single issue, and you're starting grubbing the next job. And then all of a sudden they're calling you, hey, man, this grade's off a little bit over here in the corner. The concrete guy don't like this corner.
I'll be there at 12 o'clock at night on Thursday with the skid steer to fix it up.
Can you come back and fix it? So this is where you have to.
You got experience with that, Brandon.
Oh, I've been doing this way too long. The saddest part is now I just know how to type an email back that pretty much tells them they're idiots. And okay, so real quick, I'll just say this and I'll be done. This is the key. Do you know what I put in my contract now? Because of that situation you just talked about? General contractor and concrete superintendent and concrete surveyor will verify grades while blue topping operations are being completed by Iron Eagle Excavation. Failure to do so will result in back charge for remobilization of equipment and T&M for any work that needs to be redone in accordance with concrete contractor's request.
Sounds pretty legit.
So guess who the hell shows up when blue tops start going in the ground on every job I'm on? Miraculously, the concrete guy's there. I'm like, he's like, we're not even forming for 2 more days. I don't care. You're going to sign off on these grades right here, right now. That'll stop a lot of that crap.
Oh, yeah.
We don't go back anymore. I'll tell you, there was one job I did. I went back 5 times just for little shit. Look, hey, 10th off here, half a tenth over here.
Wow.
Yeah, just out of tolerance. Make sure your contract also is plus or minus a tenth. Don't let them get you on that inches crap. It's plus or minus a tenth. That's industry standard. Trying to pass the wisdom here. I really am. I don't want to see anybody go through.
You're doing a good job at it.
I don't want to see guys go through the heartaches I have. I really don't. I even tell him all the time. I'm like, hey, be careful about that. Okay. Yeah. Well, he does pipe, so I don't know pipe that well. But when he does dirt work, I'm like, do this. Trust me. And I'm proud of him. He rapes these dudes, man. I love it, man.
Don't tell him that. Don't tell him that.
He does.
Everyone gets a smoking deal. Everyone gets a discount. It's all built in.
Yeah. It's like he's like that used car salesman smacking the top of the car. He's like, can't beat this thing, man. Look at this beast. No, I'm just kidding. He's a beast, dude. I've watched him. If you guys get a chance, guys, check out Devin's Instagram, man. He's always teaching guys stuff. He records videos, all that stuff. We're gonna start linking him to the channel, so start uploading them on the channel on our shorts and stuff, so people can see him. But he does some phenomenal stuff, man. And I'm gonna eventually, when I can get everything lined out in the office again, I'm gonna be out flying the drone and the gimbal with the camera, recording jobs and start teaching people some stuff. But the other thing, we got a few minutes left. We got about 10 minutes, but the few things I wanted to address before we get off of here. I know I've done a lot of talking tonight, and I apologize for that, but
It's all good. It's all good knowledge. People need to hear it.
That's what the show's for, right?
I know, but he's a better talker than me. He's got the radio voice. The other things that you need to think about too, though, guys, when you're growing and building a company, you always hear, oh, well, you need to attribute yourself to the new generation of operators, and you got to build your company with new operators. No, you don't. When you're a brand new company, dude, go get some guys that know what the hell they're doing, dude. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're going to pay a little bit more an hour, but you're going to have that peace of mind. And don't be afraid to go buy a GPS. That should be one of the first things you buy. Buy GPS.
Skip the laser, go right to GPS.
Go to GPS, and then, no, I'm going to go real old school and buy a Transit. Real old school. Get a Transit with a target on it.
There you go.
Because you know who can't argue that one? When that concrete guy's got a shitty-ass Ryobi laser out he bought at the fucking Home Depot 10 years ago that doesn't work and it hasn't been calibrated. And you pull that Transit out, and he's like, you're 4/10 off right here. Yeah, that's funny because I'm shooting within a millimeter. Can't argue that one. When that sight's lined up on it and it's clicking, yeah, we get out of that all the time, man. We'll have them argue about sidewalks and stuff, and they're not reaching the ADA spec and stuff. I bought all my guys Transits, and Robert trained every one of them on how to run a Transit. It doesn't happen. They'll sit there with their laser all day trying to do this crap, trying to get it to beep. And I'm like, no, it's off, dude. Your shit's shit. and like, we'll get our laser out because we get ours calibrated every year like you're supposed to. And we'll calibrate and we'll shoot ours, and it's like beep, solid beep, And I'm like, dude, you just fuck off, So
you talk about that a lot, and I've heard a lot about that, and talk in the industry. And I'm one of the aspects that I have that I'd like to add on to the company at some future time is actually performing concrete work. So
yeah,
that way you kind of get out of that aspect of those things. So.
The problem you run into, me and him were talking about that. Eventually we want to combine forces and just start attacking jobs and find a good concrete guy. We just all go hit them together. Because if you got a good utility guy and a good concrete guy as a dirt guy, dude, it's great, man. There's 2 or 3 of them, dude. I'll do all their work, man. Concrete guys, like, we do all their fine grading for them and all that because they'll pay us to do it. They're like, hey, man, I don't have a skid steer available for this job. I know you guys are going to leave it at 10th low probably. That's what y'all do. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But, how much per square foot to come dress it up for me? Whatever it is, I'll charge them, And I'll just bring my box blade out there with my GPS on my skid steer, and I'll make it look like glass for them. And I make an extra 20, 30 grand on a job just doing some stuff for the concrete guy.
Yeah.
And then the best part is I go, hey, I don't want to backfill the curbs, so I'll pay you to do that. Oh, shit. Yeah, we'll do that for you. One less thing you got to deal with, because that's the 3rd time you don't have to come back. If the less times you have to get back on that job, the better, man.
Yeah,
I try to do 2, and that's it.
Yeah, just like you were talking about networking, right? Networking to where, you're working with other contractors and getting involved with other parts and aspects of it. Yeah.
You scratch each other's back, man. At the end of the day, we're all in this together.
And even guys in the same industry, same space, doing the same stuff, like it doesn't hurt to network with those guys because stuff comes up, you're busy. I get 3-4 phone calls in a day and I'm swamped for 4 months. Call this guy, give him a shout. Yep. I can't do the job. Might as well send it to somebody else, right? And that all comes around. At the end of the day, if you're a good contractor and you're running a good business, you're not scared to send work to other guys. There's enough food at the table. You ain't got to worry about somebody eating your lunch. And it's really what it comes down to. And working with other guys in the industry back and forth like that, it goes both ways. You build those relationships with other companies, whether they're in the same space as you or not. You can have those relationships and push work back and forth with each other. And it all just makes everything a whole lot easier when everyone's working together rather than fighting each other. Yeah, exactly. It's just way better.
Another thing you got to think about too, man, is, everybody preaches about the client's always right, customer's always right, all that stuff. That's great, man. At the end of the day, you got to eat. And you're better off making good relationships with other subcontractors versus the contractor. I'm going to tell you that right now because those subs could get you work.
There you go.
That contractor, he's going to dangle that carrot in front of you to take 20 grand off, and he's going to go, I got all this work coming in. And it's like, okay, dude, you got to bid it just like the rest of us, dude. That owner has no loyalty to you, dude. If you're the high bid on the next job, he's going to give it to whoever the hell's the better bid.
That's right.
So be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everybody in the room. I mean, quoting General Mattis here. But, it's the truth, though. I mean, it does apply to business. I mean, you've got to always be 3 steps ahead on that kind of stuff. So if you're working for a guy and everything's going great with him, and that's great, and he's throwing you a bunch of jobs. Now, if he's throwing you a job and you're still on his job, play nice with that guy. But you got the guy that's got you on that one-off job, and it starts off on the wrong foot with him, or something happens. It's construction, guys. Shit happens. If you start off on the wrong foot, like we're doing a job right now for somebody, I've never worked for him before. I'd heard horror stories about him, and the horror stories are true.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that's the kind of the crazy part about construction, though, man. I've been doing it. I've been in Texas now for it's been 12, 14 years or so, and you still see the same people just like clockwork, just sort of like a rotating circle. You're like, wow, you're still here?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, it's one of those things, man. Like eventually, no matter what they say to you, they're going to give you another job. They might be mad at you for a week or two, whatever. Get over it. If you're the low bid, they're going to give you the job. They don't care. So it's just, if you're going to deal with that, man, just know that, hey, like I was saying, we're dealing with the nightmare guy right now. Their lab is so jacked up that they're using. And so I actually just paid Terracon to come out and get samples of the select fill just so I can prove their lab is incompetent.
Oh, so you up the money just to be like, hey, listen.
I literally just paid for Terracon to come take 3 samples of select because I brought 4. This is how jacked up they are. I brought 4 different loads of select out from 4 different pits, and they're telling me the PI is off on every one of them.
What's the PI requirement?
7 to 17. That's not high.
No.
And they're telling me that one of them is equivalent to cushion sand. I said, yeah, you're crazy, bro. It's literally clumping in my hand. So, yeah. So that's what we're dealing with. So that's off topic, but that's what I'm saying. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do just to prove a point. And this right here is proving a point.
Sure.
I'm going to go, hey, your lab's incompetent. So there you go. But at the end of the day, guys, when you're building these companies, man, just stay humble, stay frugal. Don't forget where you came from. When the street needs to get cleaned up, grab a broom, grab a shovel, help the guys out.
Don't blame it on the landscapers.
Don't blame it on the landscapers.
We actually blame it on the pipe guys on our job.
There you go. Just be you, man. Just be the guy you've been for the last 20 years in this industry. You know what I mean? Just because you're an owner. And it don't mean you got to go put a suit and tie on either, dude. I wear a polo and jeans. That's the most dressed up I'm going to get on a job site. I don't care. I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to do a job. If you don't like my work, that's great. Get somebody else. But my work speaks for itself. I let my work speak. I don't care. I don't got to wear an $80,000 watch and all. Yeah, I've seen how some of these guys roll. That's cool.
Well, I like how you say humble there, Brandon, is because, when I started off in this industry, I had a pretty mean blade operator that I worked for that would when they say running hubs, it was running hubs. Screaming, yelling, cussing, throwing stuff, you name it. And it was just at a young age, being 16, you realize, okay, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
And then I try to pass that down to all the people that have worked for me or work with me to just be that same way. Like, let's be a leader here. Let's not be a boss. So.
Yeah. And the other thing too, man, is you want to lead from the front, not from the back. You don't want to be sitting at the table barking orders at them. You want to be out there helping them. I mean, unfortunately, I'm at the point now where I'm actually sitting at the table having to call them like, hey, bro, you got to get this shit fixed. Oh, okay, cool. Now we're there. But, for 3 years, it wasn't like that. I was out on the job site with them like, hey, bro, you need some help. Let's get this buttoned up. I got to get this done today, and I'd stay late with them. We get it done and we roll on with it,
Yeah,
that's part of
it. It was funny because when the job I started on, one of the foremen I got working for me, great guy, wonderful guy, and we had him working on a Saturday, and I pulled up out there, and he goes, "What in the world are you doing here?" I'm like, "What do you mean, man?" He was like, "I didn't expect you to see you here." I'm like, "You're here? I'm here."
That's a leader, man.
That's what it's all about.
100%.
Brother, you got anything you want to talk about?
I think we covered a lot on this one. It's a mouthful.
This is a good episode. I really enjoyed it.
I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, Brian, we appreciate you coming on the show, man. Thanks for making the drive so far to come see us.
Hey, man, I'm used to it by now. I got a 2-hour drive home. It's no big deal. I'm used to it. So.
I really appreciate it, man. Do you got any social media or anything you want to put up that anybody wants to find you or anything like that?
No, I think I'm going to stay kind of like you said, humble to myself. I got a lot more to work out, and I got a whole lot more things to kind of get toned in to make sure that's going to be successful, because that's what that's just kind of my nature. The way I kind of am is I accept failure, but I tried not to have failure.
Go cheap on your website, bro. Just saying. I can get you some cool pictures. You can put up my shit without the logos on it or something. Just get some basic stuff, dude. I paid like $600 for my first website, I think. I mean, I got a nicer one now, but it literally was our logo. I think it was a bulldozer pushing some dirt. It literally had, hey, we do this kind of work. This is where we're located. And I got more phone calls. Now I got an expensive now. Everybody's like, oh, I didn't check out your website. Oh, well, we just found you on Google.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, it's
Google My Business, man. That's going to be the biggest source of traffic for you, for sure.
No, that's been a big aspect. And like, that out right on my bedroom, I made an office right out of my bedroom, and it's got all kinds of papers just kind of right on the wall with how kind of the operational side of things and the stuff I'm looking at doing. And just like you just said, that's even on there. Google My Business and marketing and costs and margin, like we talked.
I'm going to tell you one thing here. It's awesome to plan and do lots of planning and plan things out, but don't plan the shit out of it. Just sometime you're just going to have to pull the pin and jump on it and figure it out as you go, because you can sit there and you can plan it to death, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to pick a point and just jump. And that's just what it is. You're not going to be able to anticipate everything. You're not going to be able to figure everything out. You're not going to be able to plan everything out. Sooner or later, you're just going to have to say, screw it and go for it. And you'll work it out when you get into it, because we all did, and that's the thing. At the end of the day, if you're not going to quit and you're going to keep going, just dive feet first and get rolling. Get to a point where you're semi-comfortable, and there's never going to be a perfect time to start. It doesn't exist. You're just going to have to say, screw it and do it. And that's the thing.
And just have grit, bro. Just have grit.
Yeah.
And just remember something. My buddy Mike, he's the CFO for one of the companies I work for, and a great man. He's a great mentor of mine. He says they can chew you up, but they can't eat you. Just remember that, man. And I say this to all the viewers. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay humble, my friends. Give us 5 stars on the Spotify. Please like and subscribe. We got another episode we're recording next week, but it won't be out for 2 weeks. And who we got coming down?
We got a buddy of mine coming down from San Antonio. I'll leave it a surprise, and you guys can see when he gets here. He does dirt work down there too, so good guy, great stuff, and should be a good show.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that one. And Brian, keep us in the loop, man. We'll try to have you back on maybe in a year or two, and you can kind of let us know where you're going.
There you go. Yeah.
How's it going and everything. We'd love to see how everything's going for you.
2025 is the date I got set. So.
All right,
That's
man.
awesome, man.
Stick to it.
That's it.
Get after it, brother. And thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.